Welcome everybody to 1 Million Cups Chico chapter. My name is Tim Sharkey. I'm with Chico Start. I'm one of the organizers. And this week I came with a little bit something written down so I can make sure that I follow all the different guidelines that the Kauffman Foundation would like us all to do. And this happens across the entire nation with 163 different chapters. Everyone is getting their coffee on, dealing with their technical difficulties, sitting on the sidelines, wondering what I'm going to say next, and hopefully have a great morning listening and sharing and being part of the community. So 1 Million Cups is put on by the Kauffman Foundation, a nonprofit, and it is a weekly event. 9 a.m. across the nation. We have a 6-minute presentation. They're going to tell us their story or their idea. And from there, we're going to have 20 minutes of question and answer afterwards. Today's guest is going to be a little bit different. He has an interpreter with him and he's deaf. So I am really impressed with his presentation coming up. So I'm really excited for it. So today we need to introduce our organizers. Myself, Tim Sharkey, I'm with Chico Start. Wendy Porter, she's another organizer with Chico Start. Danny Schwartz, boss at Danny Schwartz Consulting. Kent Hastings with the technical and audio. Thank you very much, Kent. We have Lynn, and she is checking everybody in.
Our official
diligent on this. I'm loving it. Then we have Heather with the Chamber of Commerce. So thank you all for helping put this on every week. I appreciate your time. We also had to thank our sponsors, and we have Garden Villa Cafe with an awesome venue, with the coffee and the food. This is actually a step different because I am starving right now. It looks amazing. We also want to make sure that everyone does sign in, that we make sure that Lynn's getting everyone on top. And we also want to start giving out a mug at each event for people that attend. We want to have the mug club. So at the end of the show, we're going to kind of look at who's been coming, who's a regular attendee, and we got a prize. I think that's about it for right now. So I would like to start our presentation. And I'd like to present Koichi. He's with Chico State. He's going through the Center for Entrepreneurship through Chico State with Dr. Rob. And he is one of the Chico Start's interns. So he's working on his startup idea with us, going through our incubator program, as well as helping Chico Start out with getting some different tasks done. So I would like to present Koichi and his I can't think of how to say it. Esprie. It's all
Good morning. I'm Koichi. I'm an international student from Japan. When I came here, I had difficulty finding housing. And there's 3 problems that I want to talk about, and I'm going to explain each of them. International students have a problem. When they come here to the United States, but even before they get here, they have a hard time finding a place to live. The contracts are in English, they don't have a social security number, they don't have furniture, they don't really want to buy furniture. And then cities have a problem too. They want to have additional housing. Yes, they want to have additional housing. And homeowners have a problem as well. They have land, maybe a backyard, but they don't know how it's valuable and how they could use it and how to make money from it. Or they don't want to do something that requires a lot of work for themselves. That means that international students often just don't come to the United States. Esprie will solve all 3 of those problems. Esprie has tiny houses, or will have tiny houses, to set up in the owner's backyard. And this will have full amenities, furniture, a bike. The international student can live in that. The international student it'll be easy for him or her to come in, have a comfortable life, And all they'll have to do is focus on their studies and their socializing. The city will be able to have additional housing, meaning that international students will come, and that'll mean more just diversity and more greater economic influence. And the homeowner can have an easy passive income stream. The business model for Esprie is that I will set up a house on the homeowner's land. The international student will pay rent to Esprie, and then Esprie will take 30% of that amount and pay the owner for the use of the land. Esprie will make contracts with the homeowner and with the utility companies and with the city, make sure everything's all set up in the little house, and do all of the activities. So it'll be full service rental. All the homeowner has to do, or the landowner has to do, is sign the contract, and they have less concerns and less worries for renting. And the same thing, it's just a contract and it's simple passive money stream. The small house looks like this. The size is 20 feet by 8.5 feet with approximately 200 square feet total. Inside, it's fully electric and has security measures. So the tiny house itself, to build one, costs $75,000, and that's inclusive of the utility hookup and so on. And if the international student was coming to Chico, they would be spending $1,400 for rent, and that would include electrical and everything else. For 1 year, that means $16,800, and 30% of that is $5,000 that the owner would get. The NOI is $7,000. If there were 50 of these houses set up, that would be $350,000. Here in the United States, the market for international students has increased, and it's a large international student market. In California, there's 60,000 East Asian international students. And here's my team, it's me, Koichi, Wind, and our wonderful interpreter for today is Adele. What I'm looking for at this point is homeowners that have available yardage and that I could meet with and talk and discuss. And then I would talk with the city about permits and so on. And also, I need investors. And thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you. So now we have some question and answer. 20 minutes. We'll start the timer on that. Let's go away.
Is he reading lips, or are you going to turn around? Oh, I guess he's listening. That's right. Duh. Awkward. Okay. How does something like the campfire impact this business model? Because it's a great idea, but I see something like the campfire making it a little difficult.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of tiny houses can be set up for the campfire, but not in the city of Chico. That's probably further to have a small little village for that solution. But my focus is for international students, East Asian international students in particular. They tend to be quieter, they're not partiers, and it means that the homeowner and I will discuss that East Asian students, what they tend to be like, and maybe the homeowner would feel more, that they would feel more comfortable with the idea, because of course this person's going to be living on their land, and they don't want somebody who's going to be destructive. And so I will explain about the character of East Asian students, that they don't have a car, that they don't have pets, and also that the contract will say that they can't have a car and they can't have pets. And so my plan is to have these units in the city of Chico. And so I think that the campfire victims don't necessarily need to be in the city of Chico. They might want to be further apart.
So would you, how would you market specifically to East Asian international students? Would it be prior to coming over here, or would it be while they're already over here? And how do you kind of get past some of the marketing that might be considered, I don't know, a lot of digital marketing you can't really, I mean you can, but it's hard to target something like that without coming off as, I'm not sure what the right word is, but
Exclusive.
exclusive, yeah.
Good question.
Yes, it would be prior to them coming here. It would be on the web and in their language, so Japanese or Taiwanese, at the universities for students in their home countries. And so I would advertise there. That would be prior to them coming here. And also, it would be a little bit of English in it too, but it would be more in their language, showing what's an opportunity. Because right now, on the web, if it's English only, American students would see it and they would want to get in on it. And usually what happens even with the housing that there is now is that English-speaking students grab it, and then the international students get in really late for it, and they can't even get in. And I don't intend to be discriminatory, so I want to offer it to anyone, but it's going to be shown early to international students, and they'll be the ones who will see it first. And right now, I'm focusing on East Asian students, but in the future, I want it to be a worldwide business.
But
One, who was building the units, and two, have you had any discussions with the city about this type of project?
or the county.
Or the county?
Can you go back? The city, I've been asking them questions, and they do require this measurements for the yardage. And if it fits that situation, then there needs to be further discussion. And they would be helpful if it, as long as it fits that description. And also, I do have, it has wheels, but once it's set up with utilities and so on, then it is considered not a mobile home, it's a stationary home. And that's a city requirement, because they don't want a situation like this where it's a mobile home in a yard, just sitting there for a longer period of time. And really, every state has different rules, and each county has different rules. And right now, California and Texas are very supportive of this idea. California is following Texas in that, and also Oregon. And Midwest. So there are pockets of areas that are interested in this tiny house idea, and so that's where I would focus my business and focus my discussions with the government there. And then I'm hoping that as my business grows, other areas will see this and see it as a viable solution and want in on it.
Are you partnering at all with the university? Have you talked with the university about this?
I was in the elevator competition at the university, and they gave me $10,000 to use for my idea, for my business idea.
But I mean, would they be part of the business?
No, it's not a partnership. I've asked them if they were interested and they weren't particularly, but they do act as an advisor. And I think that Chico has they have a small house club, and so I haven't had a chance yet to talk with them about possible partnership in terms of making the units more inexpensively. Yeah.
How or who will be handling the permitting process with the city or the county? And would there be an easement required to put that house and utilities on the property?
Well, it's not an RV, and it's not a car, so it would be like you were putting a small building on the property, and it would be like having a second house or a mother-in-law house on the property. And the students are not going to have cars, so they won't need easement in that regard. But I think sometimes the city is going to require that once it's on there, you need to add parking. And that's not a problem because when I discuss with the city, I'm going to be saying the students are not going to have cars, and in the contract there's going to be that you can't have a car. And so hopefully the city will be open to that concept.
Have you looked at how many houses in Chico or in the county actually fall into being able to do this? Because if they're putting on a second house, I think they have to be zoned separately to have a secondary house on the property. So once you start thinking about that, you're limited if you're staying in the city of Chico, so you're starting to expand into the county versus the city. So for students who don't have cars, how do you overcome that? And do you know the numbers of the viable properties that you could even do that within the city?
I think the zoning is mostly R1 for Chico, and there's, except for little pockets for business areas, and you can't put this in a business area. But for the R1, most of it has that size ability, and you could put that there. But also the bicycling distance, what I'm planning on doing it is to be about 15 minutes max to the university, and so a perimeter from the university.
How would this work in a city or a metro area where space is limited?
Well, if you were talking San Francisco, that they would accept this idea, but the problem, of course, is that, you know, are you going to have areas that fit that description? So I think that I can't really do it in San Francisco. Possibly in Oakland, maybe would have some areas that you could do, and they could take a train to the university in San Francisco. But of course, San Francisco has a serious housing problem, and people might not mind taking the train to get into San Francisco.
What about utilities? Are utilities in, how do utilities work from a homeowner standpoint? Yeah.
And is it built into your pricing model?
No, please.
Yeah, I'm planning to have separate utilities from the homeowners, but possibly if it's separate, once it's set up, the cost will be very expensive to set up. So I'm thinking that that'll be included in the fees, and I'll have a monthly charge for that. So the landowner will add maybe $100, for example, to pay off that utility setup. But I'm going to be flexible about it. It's possible that it could completely separate. I think that my interpreting on that part was a little muddy. So the electrical for the homeowner could be, you're talking about whether it could be combined or separate, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it can be separate, but if it's separate, then there's a big cost to set that up. And so I would want to negotiate with the homeowner and have that be included. The price of the rent will include the utilities, but that in that 30% add the electrical costs. So like a small amount every month to pay off.
Yeah.
So another possibility would be to include an additional amount that is paid to the homeowner if the electrical is on their bill.
Have you thought about putting solar panels on top so it's self-generating? Since it's all electrical.
I've looked into it, but for single housing, it's not really a good match. If you had a big family, that would be a money saver. But with one person who doesn't use much electricity, it's not really feasible.
How does the septic work?
It would be a setup of connected to the sewer system from the owner's house or from the street.
Is there an alternative approach with this business model to leverage existing housing, but just be the intermediary between the rental company, property owner, and then the students, just to simplify the housing process and still make money?
Yeah. If the owner wanted to own the little house, then I could say these are the things that are required for the little housing unit, and once that was set up, then I could be a broker between them and an international student, and then just take 20% perhaps, and they would get 80%.
Makes sense. I have a question. One, have you thought about partnering also outside of this with, say, Habitat for Humanity for other reasons? And then separately, not related, I would like to introduce you to someone who can, locally, who can perhaps address the solar costs for you, who does an off-the-grid, cost-effective package. We'll talk about that at Chico.
Thank you. The most challenging thing here is having discussions with the city and having them accept this idea. If the city is open to it and it follows the laws and so on, then that'll be a good solution. This will be a good solution.
I'm curious how this business model is going to be easy to replicate in different cities, whether or non-cities, smaller towns across the United States, because as we've addressed all of these issues just in regards to the city of Chico, business permitting is a pain in the butt. And once you start getting into other areas, their permitting and businesses, they're going to change from city to city. It's not like the codes work across the board. So how can you take your business model and use it in other cities? Because I think that what you mentioned before about English-speaking students coming in and swooping up the houses, that's a great pain point. You're addressing a serious problem. I'm curious to see how you can replicate this in other cities or towns.
Yeah, I think that's a concern because there's different rules in each city and state, and that is a barrier to entry. And I don't know the laws in each of the areas, so it is going to be difficult to replicate in that regard. But if you look at the Airbnb model, It's in every country practically, and they have all different rules and laws. And so they just simply match each area's requirements, and that has spread worldwide because of that. And so there's no barrier to entry on that one, and I'm thinking it could be somewhat similar.
How many homeowners have you approached who would be interested in this?
I'm still looking for homeowners at this point.
Do you have multiple suppliers in place to create these tiny homes? And where are you looking for investment?
The makers of the tiny house, there's one in Texas and Oregon, so there's different companies for that. But one problem is that the manufacturing of it takes time, and so it's not an instantaneous process. Say you need it in 3 months, you can't really do it. Like, even if you needed 50 in 3 months, you couldn't do it. But right now, as a beginning, I'm going to have 1, 2, or 3, and if it seems like it works and it's done well, then I would like to own my own factory or lease, have a partnership with a factory in order to make more of them and build them in a timely manner. Oh, and then investors, what was your investor question again?
Yeah, just where are you looking for investment?
Well, I'm open to any investors, of course, who are interested in my business idea.
How will you utilize the money if you supported?
The most cost-intensive aspect is the house itself, the building of it, and so that would be the focus. For example, the web and translating into Japanese or into Taiwanese, that's something we can do ourselves, and marketing we can do ourselves, but the building of the house is the most expensive. And if that is successful, then I need to have a partner for running certain aspects of the business.
How are you planning to market this? Is your market going to be in the United States? Is it going to be East Asia?
I'll put a little bit of a web presence here, but the marketing will be in East Asia. And I'll be marketing to universities on the web there, and so that'll be my heavy presence. And also, can you show me the competition one? The international students have a really strong viral marketing aspect. Once people have experienced this, then in the universities or among friends, there will be marketing that's free just through word of mouth.
Do you have a plan on how you're going to recruit homeowners to that side of things? How you're going to participate?
Well, how are you going to recruit them? I was thinking knocking on doors and just saying, are you interested? You have this property that's big enough. Would that be something you would be interested in participating in?
Time for one more question.
All right, go ahead. My question is in reference, and this is, I guess, day to day thinking of, because I might have room at my home, and if I did that, in the rules of engagement between the homeowner and the student, would there be something in there that would talk about privacy for the homeowner, as well as allowing the student to have some outdoor time activities, sitting around?
In the yard.
I mean, they can't just be inside the whole time, so would there be something in reference to privacy, or how do you see that as going forward?
Yes, the contract would, for the homeowner and the student would be both directions, that neither one would be bothering each other. So I wouldn't want the homeowner to be able to go in, to go knock on the door of the little unit, or vice versa, that all the communication would be, so the student wouldn't go knocking on the door of the homeowner either, but that the relationship would be a texting relationship. And for example, just to let you know, I'm going shopping, did you want to join me, or whatever it is. And yeah, that sounds great. And so, meaning very light, light homestay. In a traditional homestay, there are often problems, like the personalities are not a match or whatever, but they're both under one roof, and so it's really awkward, and I want to avoid that situation. And then also, international students have problems with roommates a lot of times too, because it's not that, the personalities don't fit or whatever. And so what I want is to take the good from each situation and embed it in this unique one.
Thank you.
Great answers. Thank you. So that is a very interesting idea and concept, and trying to spread it across is going to be a little bit difficult. So our idea was to present, try to get some local feedback from a wide variety of different backgrounds here. So when we do go to the city, we have a few more questions that he's thought of as well, but just get a little more insight from the community. So when we sit down with the city, ask them about different questions and comments that we're a little more prepared. And once he's finished with the city, he is reaching out to local real estate agents to see if he can sit down with them, talk about how to approach, how to do contract negotiations, and how to just market that kind of idea. Because it's a little bit different. You're not trying to sell their house, or you're just trying to put something there, but it is a rental agreement. So how are we going to approach that in a few different ways, and possibly like the Realtors Association. There's a few different ideas that we talked about. So
one great resource would be the North Valley Property Owners Association. They have 750 members that have rental property already. So that would be a central point.
See, that's already, you got rental properties that already fit that. So putting on another small unit on a rental
That's
property.
right.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's already the rental.
And before going to the city, doing more market research, like how many people are really out there to be willing to do this.
And getting a list of viable
Get them to be your
properties.
friends.
Yeah. Awesome.
So thank you, everybody. If you would like to spend some time talking with Koichi and his project, at Chico Start, you can give us a call and I can let you know what the schedule's like. And he's really open to have some ideas and feedback. So I want to say thank you to everyone showing up. We want to try to keep it on time. So thank you to our sponsors, which is Gardenville Cafe, Chico Start, Peter Schwartz, Kent, Lynn. We want to make sure that you'll be back next week. We don't have certain who's going to be here, but more than likely it's going to be another Chico State intern with another startup business idea. So that'll be posted the next day or two. And what else do we have? Oh, we have coming up our NorCon HackerCon at Idea Fab Lab. There's some flyers back there. If you'd like to take some and hand them out, it'd be greatly appreciated. Other than that, thank you for your time. We will see you next week.
Saturday is at IFL is an Arduino day, so if you want to learn anything about microcontrollers, and I'll have Raspberry Pi there as well. All sorts of things there.
IFL is Idea Fab Labs.
Yeah, Idea Fab Labs.
That's Idea Fab Labs, Arduino Day. So thank you guys for your time and your patience. We hope to see you next week. Thank you very much.